Good afternoon. A house fire in Markham has turned deadly.
3 elderly people injured in the blaze on Friday have since died in hospital. CTV's Beth Macdonell has been following this story. She joins us live now with the update. Beth.
Michelle, neighbors are in shock and coming to terms with the reality. 3 people died in this terrible fire. As you can see behind me, colorful flowers have been placed here at the scene in Markham on Chombury Crescent near Kennedy and Carlton. York Regional Police say the victims are 2 women in their 70s and 1 man in his 80s. The fire erupted Friday around 7 in the morning, tearing through the roofs of 2 homes. A man living next to the fire at 3 Chombury told me there were 7 residents at the time of the fire, and this is where the 3 victims were staying. The family living at number 1 told me everyone there got out safely. Other neighbors are now trying to support both families affected by the fire.
Number 1 and 3 were affected. In fact, even 1 is probably worse now. But the fact that it was a PA day and the kids were sleeping in and they had to run out with absolutely nothing. They need absolutely everything. They're going to be setting up a GoFundMe page for the families of 1 and 3. But I think that they need to have, because there's so many young families, they're going to have some kind of psychological support.
The Ontario Fire Marshal continues to investigate. So far, a cause has not been determined. Reporting live on Beth Macdonell, Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Peel police are investigating after an incident in Etobicoke early this morning led to an officer and a suspect being injured. Peel officers were in the area of Humberline and Finch shortly before 3:30 a.m. as part of a criminal investigation. They say 2 suspects were arrested and multiple others ran away on foot. During an interaction, an officer and a suspect both suffered non-life-threatening injuries and were taken to hospital. Police say the incident that sparked the investigation began in Peel region, but have not provided any other details.
Hamilton police are asking for your help to identify a suspect connected to a suspicious fire in Stony Creek. Police released this image of the suspect. Now, he's wanted in connection with a fire at a business on June 3rd. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
2 drivers were sent to hospital following a crash in Richmond Hill early this morning. The vehicles colliding around 1:30 in the area of Stouffville Road and Bayview Avenue. 1 driver was taken to hospital with minor injuries while the other was transported as a precaution. The cause of this crash is still being investigated. And a man was sent to hospital following a crash involving a truck and a motorcycle on Highway 400. This happened shortly after 1:30 a.m. on the 400 northbound off-ramp at Finch Ave. The motorcycle rider, a 31-year-old man, was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The truck driver remained on scene. The cause of this crash also under investigation.
Still to come, renewed violence in the Middle East with Iran and Israel exchanging missile strikes. We'll have more on the calls from the U.S. to stop the violence a little later in the newscast. The first organizers behind yesterday's walk with Israel say this year's turnout was the largest in the event's history. The UJA Federation estimates more than 60,000 people attended the march. There was a large police presence at the event as counter-demonstrators showed up. 6 people were arrested, and they faced charges including assaulting a peace officer, and operating a drone. The clock is ticking for the TTC to finish critical infrastructure work ahead of the FIFA World Cup.
Service on Line 1 is limited today as the transit agency works to remove multiple reduced speed zones, leading to significant delays. CTV's Janice Golding has been speaking with commuters, and she joins us live now with more. Janice, how's it going?
Hi, Michelle. Well, it was a bit of a frustrating commute this morning for people heading to work and to school on Line 1, and that is because, as you mentioned, there is a service disruption on Lawrence West to Wilson stations because it's only operating right now on a single track, meaning both north and southbound trains are running on the same track. Shuttle buses are operating between the stations to help with any bottlenecks, and staff are on site to help customers navigate any confusion. Still, the TTC says travelers can expect delays of up to 25 minutes. Nonetheless, the service says the work is being done, as you mentioned, for structural maintenance and to improve restricted speed zones in advance of the FIFA World Cup. The line was actually totally shut down between St. George and Shepherd West starting at 12:30 a.m. Sunday, right until 6 a.m. today. But the restrictions are now just limited to Lawrence and Wilson. Here's more from commuters we spoke to during this morning's rush.
This whole stretch, like for the last month, has just been awful with there's been a lot of track slowdowns and stuff. So the whole month, my commute has just been not great.
The problem is that I'm going to my work. Okay, if it just keep happening, my boss will understand, not understand me. Same time, what happened, he will fire me. This kind of things will suffer. That's the thing.
It sucks. I'm now late for work, and so this sucks. The bus is crowded, so it's crazy.
Who am I throwing to? Now, affected customers that need to go to and from Union Station are actually able to board GO Transit at Dansview Park for no extra cost. Reporting live, Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Meanwhile, the finishing touches are being put on Toronto Stadium. Netting was installed at the stadium this morning. The first match in Toronto set for Friday when Canada takes on Bosnia-Herzegovina. 17,000 additional seats have been added to the stadium, and more than 40,000 fans are expected to attend each of the 6 games that will be played here in the city.
The one thing at Toronto Stadium that will be unique, it's very intimate. You can feel the seats right here.
Yeah.
You're right on the pitch. You're going to hear, feel, and see everything. Some of the bit larger stadiums are great,
yes,
but you're not necessarily close. Here, tell me how close this is. You're really close. You're right here. You're right on the pitch.
And final preparations are underway at Fort York for the FIFA Fan Festival. The grounds will host a concert on Wednesday with Bryan Adams set to headline. The Fan Festival runs from June 11th to July 19th, but general admission tickets are already sold out. And students at a North York elementary school are gearing up to cheer on Team Canada at the FIFA World Cup.
They're expressing their support for their favorite player. CTV's Raheem Ladani has more on the support for Richie Larea. Raheem.
Hey, Nathan and Michelle, good afternoon. You know, all of the students and teachers we've spoken with here at St. Jerome Catholic School speak so highly of Richie Larea. He isn't just an alumnus. He's part of the fabric of this school here in North York. And with less than a week to go now until Team Canada kicks off their World Cup tournament, everyone here is all in. All of the students are decked out wearing red and white for Team Canada. We're seeing a lot more kids playing soccer at recess. And this morning, they even unveiled a banner reading, "We Heart You, Richie." In fact, Larea still comes to the school often to speak with students and encourage them. He even donated an authentic Toronto FC jersey he wore during his club debut in 2019. And that gift serves as a source of pride and inspiration for the school community. Have a listen to what staff and students are telling us.
I think Richie's always been an integral part of our school community, and it shows the students from St. Jerome that he was one of them. And if you work hard and if you show determination and follow a path of working hard, then you can do great things.
I'm also an athlete outside of school and in the school, so I feel like if Richie could become a celebrity and become really good in his activities, I think I also could too.
I was his grade 6 Rotary social studies teacher, so anything he knows about grade 6 social studies came from me. So as a student, he was wonderful, always smiling, friendly as anything. He had a wonderful family.
Now, recently, Richie Larea said growing up in Toronto, it sometimes felt like a long shot to get to where he is today. That is, having played in Europe, playing in the MLS, and now, of course, on Team Canada in the World Cup. His message to everyone is to never let anyone crush your dreams and to keep pushing forward. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. Toronto's been ranked 3rd in Sports Illustrated's list of FIFA World Cup host cities. Vancouver secured the top spot, followed by Seattle, with Toronto rounding out the top 3. Sports Illustrated highlighted the city's multiculturalism and the location of Toronto Stadium as highlights. 16 cities are hosting World Cup games in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico.
And here's a live look at our beautiful city. We've got more gorgeous sunshine and warmth today. It is a beautiful day in the city of Toronto, and we're hoping That weather like this just continues straight through to the FIFA World Cup. Lindsay Morrison, this is an important week weather-wise because we're going to be mapping out that big game on Friday. Maybe we can first get to what we're seeing right now because it is really good.
Well, Michelle, how many times have we said that recently? If only we could have this weather on Friday for Canada's first game. It's not going to be too different. It's going to be warm, but it's also going to be a lot more humid than it is right now. And we're looking at the risk of thunderstorms a little later this week. So let's talk about here and now. 22 degrees feels more like 25 at Pearson Airport, but you are going to find it a bit cooler by the shoreline of Lake Ontario today, especially in the west end of the GTA and over toward Niagara region. The reason for that, an easterly wind. I could see the waves picking up on Lake Ontario in that live shot earlier. It is worth mentioning, though, that the winds are pretty light at this time. Satellite and radar, gorgeous sunshine. Once again, it is a day to spend time outside with an afternoon forecast daytime high of 27 degrees. It will feel more like 30, but again, tomorrow it's going to feel into the mid-30s. 9s across the board for the UV index today. Coming up, we're going to talk about this muggy week ahead. And of course, yes, a very important forecast as we inch our way closer to next weekend. All of those details are ahead. For now, though, Michelle, back over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, Premier Doug Ford is in Washington this week to meet with top U.S. politicians and business leaders. The Premier's office says he'll be making a case against U.S. tariffs and protectionism. The trip comes ahead of negotiations of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA. The federal government has indicated it wants to renew the deal for a 16-year period.
In Ottawa, Louise Arbour has been installed as Canada's 31st Governor General. The former Supreme Court justice was sworn in this morning during a ceremony at the Senate building. The act of naming a new representative for the monarch in this country is one of the most important ceremonies in Canadian democracy. The King approved the Prime Minister's recommendation to appoint Arbour, the first since he took the throne in 2022. After she was installed, the new Governor General offered her words or her thoughts about who we are as Canadians.
The peaceful management of our differences is nowhere better expressed than in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Charter guarantees that our cherished individual rights are subject only to the reasonable limits that are necessary for life in a free and peaceful democracy. This is what it means to live under the rule of law. In an open society like ours, the purpose of law is not to restrain, but to construct a greater freedom for all. We have a constitutional and cultural framework that allows us to imagine, to explore, to innovate, and to experiment. Our humor is grounded in self-deprecation. We believe in leading as a team. We do not mistake humility for weakness, nor do we measure a person's worth by the thickness of their wallet. We don't think we are perfect, but we believe we're pretty well on the way there.
The 79-year-old from Montreal is also Canada's new Commander-in-Chief. Following the installation ceremony, Arbour visited the National War Memorial. She reviewed the troops and placed a wreath in tribute to all Canadians who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service of Canada.
This weekend, the public got its first glimpse at a massive restoration project on Parliament Hill.
CTV's Natalie Van Roy has more on the multi-billion-dollar upgrades for Centre Block and a new Parliament Welcome Centre.
A look at the massive hole being dug on Parliament Hill, usually hidden away from the public as major construction continues on the Centre Block and a new Parliament Welcome Centre.
Certainly the largest and most complex heritage rehabilitation of its kind in Canada and actually maybe even in the world.
The project kicked off in 2018 and is currently scheduled to be completed in a few years, with a price tag ranging between $4.5 to $5 billion.
I have a theater.
On Sunday, the public getting a peek behind the curtain as the project is usually blocked by steel scaffolding.
I actually traveled here from Toronto to see Doors Open Ottawa. I've seen it in non-construction times, the first time seeing it actually, what it looks like with the construction on.
It's a complex site with a focus on restoration, modernization,
and maintaining tradition, piquing people's interest.
The history, the architectural decisions, how they're modernizing it for, the new century compared to when it was built.
Parliament's restoration reaches up to 2 stories underground. Experts on site to describe the methods used during the work.
The most fascinating was also seeing how they're using some of the old technologies for this. So we saw the tools that they're carving with.
Work continues every day.
Between 800 and 900 workers on site every day. So construction is going as anticipated, with many challenges here and there because it is a complex task.
And those getting a peek, taking pictures and making memories. Natalie Van Roy, CTV News.
Industry sources tell CTV News that Canada is considering a larger fighter jet fleet, which would include the American-made F-35 and the Gripen from Sweden. CTV's Renee Rogers has been following this story and joins us with more. So, Renee, why is a mixed fighter force being considered now?
Hi, Nathan. That is correct. Sources to CTV News tell us that the government is considering a larger fleet than ever before, more than 100 fighter jets that would be a mix between the Gripen and the American-made F-35. This would represent a significant change from Canada's 2023 commitment to simply procuring 88 American F-35s, 16 of which have been fully paid for. But then last year, Prime Minister Mark Carney put the remainder of that deal under review amid trade tensions with the U.S. and began to look toward the Swedish Gripen as Canada took an elbows-up approach and looked to diversify trading partners. Well, that was something the U.S. saw as an irritant, and it has argued to Canada that interoperability challenges between the Gripen and its military would create issues for joint missions under NORAD, Canada's defense pact with the United States. But supporters of a mixed fleet say that this would allow us to preserve our NORAD capabilities while also reducing our reliance on the U.S., as Mark Carney has pledged to do. They also point to the fact that the Gripen is compatible for operations with NATO allies, and it also costs considerably less to buy and maintain. And then there's the fact that Saab is willing to build its Gripen fighter jets on Canadian soil, which could create thousands of jobs. So the government, Nathan, could be looking at a mix of both the American and the Swedish fighter jets. However, no decision has been made. The government has said that one will be coming by the end of the summer.
Also, Renee, could all this be sort of bargaining ahead of the CUSMA negotiations?
Well, it's hard to say, but the timing is interesting because, this review that the government launched, that was all the way back in March 2025, and it's been quiet on it ever since. And so, the general sense is that Mark Carney could have been saving this issue for the CUSMA bargaining table. And it is possible that the F-35 is the government's preferred option, but it's holding that close to its chest. And the reason I say that is because critics, including some in the military, call the F-35 the more capable aircraft, the more superior aircraft, and they say that a fleet of F-35s only makes more sense than having 2 different aircraft when it comes to those different operability challenges between them. There's also been concerns raised about training personnel for 2 different aircraft and about the different infrastructure needed for both. However, that being said, other countries, including the U.S., do successfully operate different generations of military aircraft within their fleet. So is this a bargaining chip, Nathan, or is this Carney simply making good on his pledge to procure defense items outside of the U.S.? Well, something that is not clear at the moment, but it should be made more clear as those CUSMA renegotiations get underway in earnest.
Yeah, one or the other, maybe even a strategy. CTV's Renee Rogers in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A search and rescue operation is underway in the southern Philippines following a deadly 7.8 magnitude earthquake. The death toll from the quake has risen to at least 32, with more than 200 people injured. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has ordered an immediate disaster response for the island of Mindanao. There have been more than 200 aftershocks, with the most powerful measuring 6.7 magnitude on the Richter scale.
In the Middle East, Israel and Iran traded fire in their first attack since the U.S. struck a ceasefire with Tehran 2 months ago. The Iranian military said it was halting offensive operations. Israel's prime minister implied the current round of fighting is over, but said that further Iranian attacks would be met with force. The renewed hostilities have raised concerns that the Middle East could be plunged back into a full-scale war. But now Israel is also saying it has stopped its attacks after an appeal from U.S. President Donald Trump to, quote, stop the shooting.
With just days to go until Canada's first World Cup match here in Toronto, midfielder Ali Ahmed is hoping to return from injury and play in his first World Cup at home.
CTV's chief anchor is senior editor Omar Sachedina on his soccer journey and the bumps along the way.
It's Ali Ahmed! Ali Ahmed's professional breakthrough came with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now he'll return to that city and the city of his birth, Toronto, for the World Cup on home soil, a moment he's counting down to.
It's the pinnacle of football, of international football, and we're all just so excited to represent this beautiful country together.
But getting to play at this elite level has been a test of character and a validation of his tenacity.
Sharing a room with maybe 4 or 5 different strangers and using a public bathroom, but like I said, just wanted it so bad. And
used a public bathroom?
Yeah, like in the hostel, you don't have your own washroom.
He describes it as one of the lowest points in his life, living in a dingy room in Lisbon when he was just 17 to chase a pro contract in Portugal.
You turned down an academy contract at 17 with Toronto FC to go on to play in Europe. Why did you do that?
You know, every player, a lot of players from Canada have that European dream, and when you hear about a chance to play in a country like Portugal, sometimes you don't think twice, even if it might not be the prettiest situation.
It was a gamble on himself that didn't pan out, but he doesn't see it as a loss. He views it as a win because he got a lesson in resilience.
It's things like that, you know, make you appreciate where you're at now a lot more.
His persistence paying off with an impressive season at Norwich in England. Keeper parries it, Ali Ahmed scores from the rebound! He broke into the national team a year before Copa America in 2024, helping Canada to a 4th place finish.
There's nothing better than experience, and the Copa America, just the atmospheres and the pressure of games. No better way to test yourself, and experience is one of the best teachers, I feel.
2 things he says help ground him. The first is faith. A practicing Muslim, he plays even while he's fasting during Ramadan.
Just a spiritual boost, and for the brain as well, and the soul. Like the boost you get, I think kind of counteracts the nutritional effects.
His other anchor?
Just as much as I represent Canada and love Canada, my parents, come from Ethiopia, and that is also a big part of who I am, my identity, because, that's where my parents, kind of, culture and raised me upon.
Ali Ahmed! Family who will be cheering him on at his first World Cup now.
It's amazing. It's amazing. No words can really describe how, the feeling of playing in 2 home stadiums.
Omar Sachedina, CTV News, Toronto.
Well, the countdown is on to the World Cup, and today is a great day for any athletics outdoors. It's not too hot, it's not too humid. This is your evening sports forecast. Expect lots of sunshine into the nighttime hours as well before that sun sets around 9 p.m. Now, the rest of this week brings a little more instability. As you can see, we've got the chance of showers and the risk of thunderstorms in the coming days. Not only that, but we see heat and humidity building. In fact, it could feel like 40 one day this week. We'll show you which one after the break here on CTV News at noon. We'll be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
The World Cup is set to begin in Toronto on Friday, and preparations are underway across the city for the big event.
The tournament is expected to attract tourists from all across the globe to here in our city. For more on how Toronto is preparing, we're joined live by Kelly Jackson, VP of Destination Development at Destination Toronto. Kelly, great to have you with us. As far as your line of work at Destination Toronto, this has to be as big as it gets. Is the city ready for this influx of tourists?
Well, the city is absolutely ready. If you've had the chance to be out and about in the last couple of weeks, you can definitely feel the excitement. You can see all the signs that the World Cup is coming. We see the wayfinding signage up so that fans will be able to know how they move through the city and be able to get to the stadium and Fan Fest. We're seeing some of the pageantry, some of the different exhibitions and activations have already started across the city. And so I think, is a palpable sense that we're ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. Some tourists, some players have already arrived in the city. Where do you think the city will get the biggest benefit?
It's a great question. When we look at a major event like the World Cup, it's a generational opportunity for us from a tourism perspective. And there's the short-term impact. We're modeling currently that more than 50% of the ticket holders for each match in Toronto will be international visitors. And so we know that there's going to be an injection of spending into the local economy. We're going to see not just those fans come to spend time at the matches, but also to explore the city, to check out some of our attractions, to eat at our restaurants, and maybe go to some concerts while they're here too. So we know as well that in an event like this, you're going to see residents out enjoying the city as well and being part of all the activations. And that's the short-term side. When we look long-term, it's a huge opportunity to really inspire visitation from people across the world. I mean, billions of people tune in to watch World Cup matches. And when they tune in to see the matches being played in Toronto, they're going to see all of the fabulous footage of our skyline, of our neighborhoods, all of the things that we know make Toronto such an amazing place. That all of a sudden is going to be front and center for so many fans watching.
It really is a wonderful opportunity to showcase our city. For you, I'm curious, are there concerns at this stage with the amount of people who may be coming to the city? What are the key concerns as we are just a number of days out with Friday, the first game?
Toronto has a track record of hosting major events. And so we, have had a couple of what I call trial runs in the last couple of years. We had Taylor Swift in town for 6 major concerts that brought in a lot of visitors. We also hosted the World Series last year, which again brought in not just fans, but also all of the media and all of the different administrators and supporters that come with hosting such a major tournament. So I think certainly we're going to be ready to welcome people. But I would also say that, when we look at some of the impacts around the safety, security, the planning, a ton of work has gone in from the city and all of its partners to really make sure that we're prepared. There's been a really good amount of information provided to fans, visitors, residents, businesses, how to navigate the city, what's actually going to be closed, what's going to be open, all of the additional public transportation service that's been added. So I think, as we look for people coming to the city to enjoy it, they're going to be able to navigate and move around.
Yeah, there's so many people involved. It really does take a city to pull this off. Kelly Jackson with Destination Toronto. Thank you. We'll talk. All right, I think she said thanks.
Take care, Kelly.
All right, well, the good thing is also on top of everything else with the World Cup Friday, we're getting this great weather leading up to it.
Definitely. I know. I couldn't help but look ahead now that we're into the week of the World Cup to Friday, and it's a little iffy, but as we know, and you cover the weather for how many years now, things can change as well.
Things can change, and also with this type of setup, like what we have for this week, the chance of showers and the risk of thunderstorms will not be an all-day thing. So it's likely that we will get spotty showers here and there. The risk of thunderstorms certainly there with some added moisture in the atmosphere. We are going to notice that as early as tomorrow. It's going to feel like 35 at the height of the day. So let's get you knowing what you need to know for the week. Weather is brought to you by the Pressler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Today is a no-fuss weather day. We have a blue sky. We have a comfortable temperature right now. Low humidity, relatively speaking. Today would have been a great day for Canada's first game in the World Cup. But yeah, Friday's going to bring slightly more interesting dynamics, which we will get to. So stay tuned for that. Right now, though, it is 22 degrees, feeling like 25. It's already 26 degrees in the Windsor area and 20 degrees this hour in places like Wyerton and Kingston. We're forecasting an afternoon high today of 27 degrees. It is going to feel into the 30s the further south you go, so around Niagara Falls, for example. Similar situation in Windsor. 34 degrees is our record high for this day. It was set back in 2011. That was a hot summer. Provincial hotspot so far at Etobicoke at 29 degrees. That's in northern Ontario. Tonight, it's going to be comfortably mild, 16 degrees for the low, 13 is the average. Mainly clear skies, a couple of clouds creeping in. And then tomorrow, this is when we see our first chance of some scattered wet weather. Risk of thunderstorms is going to be there too. 29 degrees is likely to feel like 32 in Toronto, but it might feel even muggier than that in many different areas. So for example, Grand Bend could feel like 37 tomorrow afternoon, feeling like 35 at the height of the day in Whitby. And yes, you may be noticing a couple of those shower and thunderstorm icons on this map. We do see things changing a little bit. So enjoy the clear skies that we have right now. Here's some active weather stateside that we are monitoring also. As these disturbances slide their way eastward, we see the muggy, messy weather coming our way too. So going to throw a couple of pauses on this forecast radar. Waking up tomorrow, likely to be dry around the GTA, but in the afternoon we see the chance of showers. Looks like it could be particularly unsettled around southern Georgian Bay and the Bruce Peninsula. Showers going to be possible overnight and into the early morning hours of Wednesday too. And then guess what? Thursday and Friday bring us the chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms also. Your 7-day forecast looks like this. There's Friday after a 30-degree high on Thursday. We're up around 28 degrees, feeling like 33 on Friday afternoon with a 40% chance of showers at this point. Again, time for that to change. The weekend is looking mostly dry and a little cooler with a mix of sun and cloud both Saturday and Sunday. It's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Blue Jays welcome the Philadelphia Phillies to town tonight.
Here's the ball hit high and deep to right field and way gone for Pinyango.
The Jays were down 4 runs in the 6th inning yesterday afternoon against the Baltimore Orioles. However, they scored 5 runs in the bottom half of the inning, coming back to win the game 6-4. Lefty Patrick Corbin is set to start in the series opener against the Phillies tonight. First pitch is set for 7:07 at Rogers Center. The Jays have won 2 in a row.
The Toronto Marlies will be competing for the Calder Cup, the AHL's top prize.
To go straight to the goal. Kept in. Nylander slips away with it. Takes the shot. He scores! Fresh road for the Marlies as they're going to the Calder Cup.
Alex Nylander, the younger brother of Leafs forward William Nylander, scored in OT to lift the Marlies to a 2-1 victory over the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. The Marlies will face either the Colorado Eagles or the Chicago Wolves, who are squaring off in a Game 7 tonight. This is the Marlies' first Calder Cup appearance since 2018.
Still to come, taking a closer look at the language of Airbnb ads and what that means for bookings. We'll have the details when we come back. Every Airbnb listing is written to make the property seem appealing, but a new study shows exactly how language can influence a renter's choice.
For more, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. And Dan, you say the key finding here is that words work best if they really don't mean anything.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Can I tell you about this place we're going to stay? It's jaw-dropping.
Oh.
It's charming. Words like that actually you can't define, And you can't exactly, like, if you get there and it's not jaw-dropping, you can't exactly sue them and say, you said it was jaw-dropping, my jaw has not dropped. Everybody knows your jaw has nothing to do with it. You know, it's called puffery, these words. And this is a research study that looked at the language that goes into these Airbnb ads. So they took about 200,000 listings that were up for several years and that changed their language over time. And sometimes they would introduce these words that fit under the category of puffery, where they don't actually mean anything. And what the research showed, I love this, is that those words increase the number of bookings, but they don't increase the number of people who complain and give a low rating. So in other words, it makes more people think it's going to be good, but it doesn't actually raise their expectations. So if it raised their expectations, you would expect more complaints when they got there and it wasn't as good, but it doesn't. It just makes them think it's going to be good somehow without raising their expectations. So if you have an Airbnb listing, or if you're selling a used car, or if you're just trying to advertise something, look for these puffery words that don't mean anything. And it's a great way to sort of spruce it up, make it look shiny without actually being accountable for what you're saying.
Yeah, it's actually perfect. So when you watch something on Netflix, maybe a doc, and they'll give you those recommendations, part of the algorithm. Apparently, these algorithms on these streaming services like Netflix or Spotify might backfire and make it boring for us?
Yeah, this is a really interesting essay about how the fact that the algorithms are focused on the short term can make them boring in the long term. And the analogy here is like, if I tell you, hey, listen, this pizza was great, you say, oh, I know another pizza place across the street, great, let's have pizza there. After 10 pizzas in a row, you don't want pizza anymore, you want Thai. But if the algorithm is just, oh, this guy's really obsessed with pizza, is never going to recommend the Thai food. And so this is what happens with your recommendations on a lot of these platforms. And the fix for that, according to experts, is to talk to a human. So don't outsource all of your finding the next movie on the algorithms. Don't expect it to be interesting, because it's not. What will make it interesting is to go to a website about interesting movies and find something you didn't know about. Find somebody you find interesting and ask them what movie they've seen recently that they recommend, or what one of the most interesting movies they've ever seen is. And if you take that kind of an approach and actually take responsibility for your curiosity, you're going to have a better time. So that's the advice.
Novel idea.
I fully agree. I think some of the best movie recommendations come from the newsroom.
Yeah.
You know, producer Carter's got some great ones.
Yeah. It's your friends, and sometimes they throw you a curveball. And even if you don't like the movie they recommend, you've got something to talk to them about the next time, and you have a great conversation.
I love it. Okay, finally, mathematicians. They've issued a declaration on artificial intelligence. What are they saying?
Yeah, well, what they're saying is that they're nervous about how the world's changing. And the big thing is that as these AI models get smarter, they're going to be able to do math that is just too complex and has too many steps for a human to have time to verify. And the question is, are we going to start to believe that math to be true and just trust AI, or will we limit ourselves to what humans can really get their heads around? And so this is a big part of it. And it also is, we're moving into a world where if a mediocre mathematician has access to a big, powerful model, they're going to be able to do better math than a truly brilliant human being. And in the past, it's always been that the smarter the mathematician, the better the math. And so that change is giving people cause to have concern as well. So it's a changing world, and AI is a big part of that in the math world.
Yeah, for sure. All right, CTV Science and Tech Specialist Dan Riskin, always a pleasure, always insightful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still to come, the Bank of Canada is set to make its latest interest rate decision on Wednesday. We'll have more on economists' predictions when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The Bank of Canada is set to announce its latest interest rate decision this week. Economists expect the central bank to hold its benchmark interest rate steady for a fifth consecutive time Wednesday. The bank has kept its key interest rate at 2.25% since October of last year. Its governing council says it's closely monitoring the impact of the war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. The update also comes as Canada has entered a technical recession for the first time since 2010. The 79th annual Tony Awards were handed out last night, and several Canadians took home prizes.
CTV's Andrea Keith looks back at the night's big winners.
The 79th annual Tony Awards were very good to Canadians on Sunday night.
Ladies with parasol. Casey Levy.
Hamilton native, 20-year theatre veteran, and first-time Tony nominee, Casey Levy won the prize as Best Actress in a Leading Role in a Musical as Mother in Ragtime, a first for a Canadian.
I grew up in Canada,
watching the Tonys and dreaming of a life on Broadway.
She thanked her husband, who she had trouble finding in the audience.
And every babysitter who's made it possible for me to be both a Broadway actor and a mother.
Ragtime won 4 awards, including Best Revival of a Musical.
Excuse me, sorry, we didn't buy tickets. You are getting no money from us.
Come on, let him sing. Now 2-time Tony winner Lorne Michaels, the creator of Saturday Night Live, helped take a canceled Apple TV show and bring it to the Broadway stage. Schmigadoon won 4 awards, including the night's most coveted Best Musical.
We're really grateful for this, and it means everything. Sometimes singing, dancing, a lot of jokes, and a happy ending is really all you need. Thank you.
Nominated for 4 Tony Awards, Titanic, a musical featuring the music of Celine Dion about the Titanic if Dion was in fact on the ill-fated ship, co-stars Scarborough's Deborah Cox as the unsinkable Molly Brown. And Ali Louis Borski of the Lost Boys is Muslim of Moroccan, Italian, and Irish descent. In part, he dedicated his acceptance speech to immigrant families.
For the people of Palestine who deserve to live a free life, a full life without occupation. For Arab theater makers and artists, may we continue to tell our stories and show our faces so our humanity becomes undeniable and our families can no longer be written off as merely collateral damage. May they know the beauty of our kisses upon each cheek and the romance of a language rooted in passion for love and life itself.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
Coming up, inspiring the next generation to take flight. We'll have more on the initiative focused on getting young girls into the pilot seat when we come back. Young women and girls took to the skies over the weekend at the Canada Aviation and Space Museum.
An organization of female pilots offered free flights as part of an effort to encourage the next generation. CTV's Kimberly Johnson reports.
Climbing into her seat brings a range of emotions for Navia Kumar.
I'm feeling nervous and excited.
It's her first flight in a small aircraft. The trip and the chance to see the Ottawa sights from the sky is an unforgettable experience.
I was like really high up, so it was just too exciting for me.
This is a very good opportunity for any girl to experience at this age. What's in her, we don't know, right? So it's a good opportunity for her to explore.
The 99's Eastern Ontario chapter is hosting its annual Girls Take Flight event at the Canada Aviation and Space Museum.
I really want to be a pilot so I can help people. Being up inside of the air and seeing all of the cars and all of the buildings.
Geared to young women who have never flown in a small aircraft before, the event hopes to encourage them to consider a career in aviation or obtain their personal pilot's license.
They've never been on any flights before, and I think this is just such a great opportunity. There's very little women pilots out there, so hopefully this will help educate them a little bit more.
This is where we really light that spark.
The 99 say roughly 6% of commercial pilots around the world are women. And it's not just pilots. Careers in aviation include engineers and air traffic controllers.
There's that expression, if you can see it, you can be it. And I think that introducing younger girls, perhaps in grade school, to the possibilities in aviation, they're more likely to seek out that.
Inside the museum, organizations like the Northern Lights Aero Foundation, which provides awards and scholarships to women in aviation, are there to help show what's possible.
My first flight in a small airplane completely got me hooked, so it's wonderful to see young girls come out and get to experience this.
Kind of want to be it now. Maybe it's my passion.
Kimberly Johnson, CTV News.
A great program.
I love that. And if you like it hot and sunny, today's your day.
Today's a good day to take flight. No major weather concerns. Winds are pretty light, and it's not nearly as humid today as it's going to be a little later this week. In fact, it could be feeling like 40 by Thursday and Friday. But overnight tonight, comfortable enough for sleeping, 16 for the low. It's going to be a little warmer overnight tomorrow night and into Wednesday. Here's a look at tomorrow's forecast daytime highs. So suddenly we're up around 29 degrees, flirting with 30 130 in many communities. You will find it cooler once again by the lake, so that's some good news. You can find relief there. However, we do have the risk of thunderstorms. So the next couple of days, in fact, there's going to be the chance of scattered wet weather. At times, it's just a slight 30% chance of showers. Other times, it looks a little more likely that we could get into some thunderstorm activity. That is the case for tomorrow, and it looks like it could be the case on Friday. Of course, we're paying special attention to Friday because it's Team Canada's first game in the World Cup. It is going to be a hot and humid day with the chance of showers, the risk of a thunderstorm. The weekend, the volatile weather settles down a little bit. We enjoy a mix of sun and cloud each day, slight chance of a shower on Sunday, and temperatures are going to be more comfortable that day, so not nearly as muggy with highs back in the mid to upper 20s. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, overall looking good. Thanks, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.